Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. Today I have Clarissa Makhoul, Markrete Krikorian, and McLaughlin with me. Today I would like to talk about if your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough. And my question is, who are we to decide that? Why do we worry about how the size of other people's dreams? What's up with that?
So last night when you first sent the topic, I actually kind of took it in a different direction. So I don't think of it as the collective we determining if your dreams scare you. I think everybody has their own gauge of what's considered a dream and what scares them. So, for some people, it might be starting a business. For other people, it might be advancing in their career. For some people, it might just be becoming a mom or buying a house. So those dreams of people are all independent of the collective we. And I take that, when I hear that phrase, I kind of take it to mean, any dream that you're trying to accomplish that's something new to you is going to be scary. Not so much like what anybody else thinks of that dream, but if it's something that you knew that you're trying to achieve, it's going to scare you a little bit.
Yeah, I echo what Chris said there. It's all relative, isn't it? I remember one time doing some personal training for a client, and for her, it was to run 100 meters. She'd never done it before. So that is massive. For others, that might seem like a drop in the ocean, but for her, it really meant a lot to her, and it's a real achievement by her. So you're absolutely right. It's all relative, and the question is, when do you stop dreaming? What age? Is it an age thing? Or do you do it forever?
I would like to say forever, because and until you're gone, you're always going to have something that you're looking to achieve. As you get very elderly, even if it's like wake up in the morning or have breakfast.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting the way you phrased it too. You kind of asked like, whose dreams are we talking about, or like, who is this person? You were kind of embodying the person actually saying the expression, which I thought was interesting. And I kind of had two thoughts about that. Like, one was, I think the recommendation of someone telling someone else, like, this is what you need to do to have a real, like, this is what a real dream is, like, it has to push you beyond a certain level, is tricky, because I think everyone has their own limits, and everyone has their own definition of what a big enough dream is. Maybe one person won't have the same limits as someone else. So yeah, I think that it's for everyone to decide for themselves, but also, there are times where you could be doing something that feels like it's pushing you beyond your limits, but it may not actually be that difficult for someone else. Or it may be something that you're able to achieve a big dream, but if you're a runner and you run a marathon, that may be like no big deal. But for some people, it might be a huge accomplishment that they could never imagine. So I would say, it's still I think every accomplishment is still worth acknowledging and being relative to what you are capable of. But I think for me, I've found that ways that I feel encouraged and motivated is by like acknowledging the smaller things that I do accomplish, so that I could feel like, hey, this is like, I'm getting closer to really, my big goal, let's say climb Mount Everest goal. And I'm getting there by just, running 2 miles today. So yeah, just like celebrating those small victories sometimes is a big deal.
This kind of came up for me because I recently had a conversation with someone that was not supposed to be a sales call, and it turned into a sales call. And he told me that I was not dreaming big enough, that I should be making multiple 6 figures a month. And that, he went off this whole tangent. And I came off of that call, first of all, being annoyed that he tried to sell me when it wasn't supposed to be a sales call. But secondly, feeling like, who is he to judge whether I want to even make multiple 6 figures and want to do the work that comes with that? Like, why does that have to be my dream because he thinks I'm capable of it?
I think that's a big part of the world we live in. Like, everybody just feels entitled to have a say in other people's lives, or to have an opinion in other people's lives. And I personally feel like social media has contributed to that a lot, because we see the blips of everybody, everybody's highlight reel. So there's, the peer pressure involved with it, but also people that don't really know you feel like they know you because they're on
Mhm.
your friends list on social media. So then that gives them sort of this weird right to have an opinion or a say in what your life is like. And so
Mm.
it's kind of a weird dynamic that I think generations that have come before us probably haven't dealt with as much.
I think it's interesting what you said there as well. You're going to got to make big goals. It has to be, the way you said it was sounding like it has to be with money.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I'm thinking as myself is, you know, what is your purpose? I know it's allegedly John Lennon said, "What do you want to be when you grow old? Happy." You know, and so straight away he went in there for money, which is quite an interesting thought there, Robyn.
Mm. Yeah, that was his definition of me having a big dream or a big goal. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's a bit presumptuous to also think that like you're even if you have that potential in his mind, or that would be a big accomplishment for him, in his worldview, like that would be something that you would find valuable too. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of times we assume that we're like right about things and that our opinions are kind of, our values of things in the world are like the truth, but
Which
it's
is
not always
why
true.
this whole idea of if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. If you're not almost crashing, you're not driving fast enough. Like, that's my question. Based on whose standard? Who gets to say that?
I think part of, coming to self-acceptance and self-awareness is determining or making that realization that nobody but you gets to say that. Like it's not something that anybody but you personally can determine, because you are the only one that can figure out what makes you tick and what makes you happy.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes when, you know, when you're always striving to say, you're talking about big goals there. Sometimes I feel I've done it personally. You don't live in the moment and be content in the now, because you're always striving for something that's going to make you happy further on the line. But actually, be happy now, be content now, but also have those dreams to move forward and aspirations. But you know, it's live your purpose and be happy at the time, right in the moment, and don't let it pass you by.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the things, a lot of the behaviors caused by social media as well, and maybe just the culture we live in of intensity and working all the time, I think it promotes feeling like if you're not like in a really intense goal and like pushing yourself to failure, like, I'm thinking of like weightlifting. If you're not like
Mm-hmm.
going to failure, you're not doing a good job. So
Right.
that's okay sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to do that and feel that sometimes, but I think that it doesn't mean that in order to achieve a big goal you have to do that all the time. And I think a lot of times you're building small accomplishments and then you finally get to a big goal, and that was not due to being an intensity junkie and just pushing yourself to failure every day or something. So
Yeah, I'm definitely, I mean, I'm guilty of being an intensity junkie. I can really push myself really hard. But a really good example of what you're talking about there is when I was in undergrad, I took a computer science class, and on one of the exams, they had these theorems that you had to like make match. And I looked at them and I was like, I have no idea how to do this. But I thought, I'll just do a little bit on each side. Maybe I can get some partial credit. And so I just kind of played with it. And then I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, that's all I can do. And I realized, oh, wait, now they match. And it worked. It just worked like that. Just to let me try the little bit I can.
I think I see this a lot in like people's career paths, is that like in general, if you're working for a company, or even if you're working for yourself, it's always grow, 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 grow. But not everybody is, made to grow. Like there might be somebody that's perfectly content to stay where they are professionally because they've got something going on personally that is taking more of their headspace or their time, or is just frankly more important to them. And we as a culture are so work motivated that we don't really see that sometimes, or we think, oh, well, that person failed, or that person gave up, or that person doesn't have any goals for their lives because they're not advancing professionally, when really that just could not be their goal. Like maybe they're just content in that area of their life and they're achieving big things in other parts of their lives that you don't know about.
That's a great place for us to end it. Thank you so much. That is our 10 minutes. I appreciate you having this conversation with me, and I look forward to doing it with you again soon.